All right. Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert and friends all over the world today. We're so grateful to have you join us on this beautiful, magnificent Friday, middle of October. So crazy. Grateful to have you with us. We have a very, very special guest with us. I'm going to tee him up here. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, so I appreciate his willingness to improvise and uh, do our very best right in the midst of life, as we do anyway, right? Who isn't improvising? My guest today is a consultant, speaker, author, advocate for social transformation. He is the director of Commonwealth Institute. He has visited over 43 countries and 100 distinct cultures, which gives him a unique perspective on our global human and spiritual issues, and his vision, a vision which spans culture and class. And I know that vision is a big deal to this man, and I'm sure he's going to talk about it. He has written books on leadership and societal change, award-winning Creating a World That Works for All, and Seven Seeds for a New Society. This man consults with people and organizations on the leadership edge of change, including government agencies, businesses, and social service organizations. And he is gracing us with his presence today. This is Shariff Abdullah, coming to us from Portland, Oregon today. Is that right, Shariff? Are you in Portland?
Yep.
Yeah, right on.
Beautiful day in Portland.
Welcome to Life on Love. We're so grateful to have you here.
Yep. Great to be here and great to be talking with you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Our mutual friend, Reverend David Alexander, made the introduction, got us connected, and I'm so grateful that he did. I know we've both known David for quite a while, and grateful to have you here. So yeah, it's a beautiful day in Portland. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I'm always interested in what's going on up there. The fires, the air is clear nowadays.
Yep. Yeah, and Portland was in the middle of it, in the midst of it, a few weeks ago. But now I can actually see blue skies out my windows, and being in the middle of this Armageddon-like experience. I mean, it's really. I literally could not see the building across the street from me.
Wow.
In the midst of the smoke. They said that if you actually ventured outside, it was like smoking 20 cigarettes a day.
Holy cow.
And people, and I was particularly sensitive to the people whose jobs carry them outside every day. They were, some people had the flexibility of postponing their work to another day or another week. But a lot of people didn't. A lot of people were trapped in the cycles that we're in the midst of, and so I had to. It gave. Well, I have a very nice apartment with very secure double pane windows, and so I just kind of locked the windows. Lots of plants in here, so I had my own, making my own oxygen.
There you go.
I had a chance to be philosophical about it. I was not on, literally on the streets, and recognizing that I have a privilege, and the privilege was I get to breathe. I get to choose the air I breathe. Okay, and we don't think of that. I mean, like, these are like basic living privileges. I have clean water to drink. I have relatively clean air to breathe. Most of the time, it's clean enough to breathe. I have decent, basic food available. And in the midst of all of this, I can sit back and say, "Hey, I'm okay. Hope you get yours." Or I can say, from this position, from the position I've got, what is it that I'm being called to do? What is my calling in this moment? Each one of us is on the planet for a reason. In our busyness, we forget that. In our busyness, we we think that that my calling is whatever the next thing that interests me, okay, or my calling is whatever is going to give me the most enjoyment and satisfaction in the world. But I think that our calling has to be deeper than that, and especially in these deepening times that we're in, that I think we're all being called to step up our game, step up into a higher order of who we are, and we'll have the opportunity to do that stepping in our future.
Mm. So what the book, Creating a World That Works for All, that speaks to actually the language of CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living. Talk to us about a world that, what is your vision? When you and I talked a few weeks ago, we talked quite a bit about having a vision for something, and that if you, it actually made me think of the biblical quote, without a vision, the people shall perish. What talk about creating a world that works for all. That in itself is a vision. Yeah, I mean that's something to pull us forward. Talk to us a little bit about that.
This is interesting. It's interesting because when most people hear, and I had to reach down to get my prop here, creating a world that works for all, what they hear is to make the world a better place. And it's not that. So so everybody's listening to us now, I want you to do clean out your ear and say, okay, what is he saying here? Okay, so creating a world that works for all doesn't mean making the world a better place, because if I walk outside right now and I pick up a cigarette butt and I put it in the trash can, I've made the world a better place. Now I can go and do whatever I want to do. Okay. Saying I want to make the world a better place means I don't have a measurable goal. There's no way to measure that. There's no way to say you haven't done enough. There's no way to say, how is this even possible? Let's say I go to a soup kitchen once a month and I'm handing food out to hungry people. Making the world a better place. So creating a world that works for all means that the world has to work for all living beings. The world has to work for all human beings. So everybody in our human family, the entire world should be working for them. And then we go further than that. It has to work for all living beings. The world has to work for those trees out there. The world has to work for those birds that are making their nests in the trees, or actually more likely getting ready for that big flight down south, down your way. So what we have done over the course of the past few hundred years is making the world a hell for living beings while making the world work for corporations and the super wealthy. I'm suggesting that that's not the way we should be doing things. I'm suggesting that we need to have another way of analyzing the problem. So the question is, what is your highest goal? What is the thing that is the highest goal of your heart? What is the thing that calls you, your highest level of you, forward? And when we begin to understand that, when we ask the question, we begin to get answers for it. And when we begin to understand what those answers are, we can start acting with each other and with ourselves in a very different way.
The highest goal of your heart, that is inherent within that question, a life-giving response. Like, what to the ignorant, if they say, what's the highest goal of my heart? And again, I'm not attempting to be judgmental, but the highest goal of my heart is simply, to have a nice car and something that, like you're describing, something that's, just my small little circle, and that's that. How do we give folks entree into a bigger idea of what that means?
That is a really good question, because we've lived in a society that is so toxic. We're so far removed from our hearts that we don't even know what our hearts are calling us toward. And then we begin to believe that what my heart wants is what all these corporations blasting advertisements at me 24/7. Okay, that's what they want. I have a story. I don't know if I told you this one or not. So actually, I didn't tell everybody else that's listening. So
let's hear it.
This happened some years ago. So again, I've been to 45 different countries. I've been to every continent that has people on it. I haven't been to Antarctica yet. I actually want to go one of these days, but I don't do workshops with penguins, so there's been no real great need for me to be there. And I've done work in every strata of society. Okay, so I do work with, I do workshops with poor rice farmers, and I've done workshops with presidents and prime ministers, and so I've been throughout all of it. And so when I'm coming back into this country, I try to always route myself through Atlanta so I can see my adult daughters and my now getting to be adult grandsons. I have no idea how this works, but I'm just here for the ride. Okay. So this is some years ago. I was coming back from Indonesia, and so I routed myself for a couple of days through Atlanta, and one of my daughters had one of their boyfriends pick me up at the airport. Okay, and so he picks me up to take me to where I was staying, and he was saying to me, "Oh, I really want to go to places like you go to. I want to go to Indonesia. I want to go to Asia. I want to go to Africa, etc." And so I said, "Go." He says, "Well, I don't have the money to go." And he had picked me up in a brand new top of the line Lexus. And I did a quick calculation. I said, "Well, my ticket to Indonesia cost you about 4 of your car payments. So ditch the car and travel the world." And he gave me this look, and he says, "I have to have a car." I said, "Great." I said, "Then you should be driving a 20-year-old car the way I do." Okay, so I make I have priorities in my life, and one of my priorities is connecting with all of my human life and then all life on the planet. And in order to do that, I drive a very well-maintained 21-year-old Toyota. Now, this is a very important point. If my identity is tied up in the car, then I'm going to need to drive in a Rolls Royce. If my identity is tied up in a watch, I'm going to need to tell time with a Rolex. If my identity, if the nature of who I am is tied up in stuff, I can never, ever get enough stuff. And as much stuff as I get, there will always be this emptiness that's sitting inside of me. And so the challenge that I have, the challenge that I think we have, is once I understand who I am, I can understand how much is enough. And once I understand how much is enough, then I can say, how can I be helpful to my immediate family, to my extended family, my neighbors? How can I be helpful to all of my neighbors? How can I be helpful to all human beings on this planet and then keep going? How can I be helpful to all life on this planet and then be prepared mentally and spiritually to encounter life on other planets? Okay. Until I do that, I'm going to look at all life as competing with me. I'm going to be looking at, I want to keep all those aliens away from me. I want to keep all those immigrants away from me because they're going to take my stuff. Well, if I'm not tied to my stuff, if I recognize that I'm here, right here in my heart, and all that stuff is over there. Like, you can see my books, you can see my plants. I got stuff. You know? I got a car right out there. But I'm not attached to it. And once I can let go of the attachment to it, the ego attachment to it, and even the identification attachment to it, on being identified with this stuff. Once I let all that go, I can feel the constrictions around my heart just relaxing. And at that point, I can then be generous. I can then be compassionate. I can then be welcoming. I can literally open myself. But if I'd have no idea who I am, then my defense mechanism is I got to keep everything away from me. And that includes people who don't look like me. That includes the people who actually do look like me. And that also includes my family, my wife, my children, my siblings. It also includes myself. And so right now in our society, we have people who are separated out from themselves. When I'm separated out from themselves, where they can do harm to themselves. They can do harm to the essence of their being. And by harm, I mean like suicide. Suicide is at an epidemic level in our society, and we do nothing about it because we can't admit that it's there, because in order to admit it's there, we have to recognize that there's something fundamentally wrong with the society that we've got right now. Depression is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I want you. Lots of folks want you to be depressed. They can take pills. And yes, pill pushing is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that's the legal end of the drug business. The illegal end, the extra legal end, is also a multi-billion-dollar business of bringing in cocaine and the heroin and all of the other things to cloud our reason, to try to get us to cope with the fact that we're living in a way that we can't cope with. So on a physical level, I look at those people over there and I don't know why they live that way. I don't know why they do these things. I don't know why those people in those tents out there in the streets are living in those tents out there in the streets. They must be mentally defective. They must be, And then I look at what's happening in my own house, in my own setting, at my own job, and recognize none of us are well. The people and homelessness in Portland is at epidemic levels. I have never seen anything like this before. Okay.
Same in Seattle.
And people say, what's wrong with those people? And then they move to Palm Desert. And that's like moving in the That's like moving in the Titanic from the 3rd level to the 15th level. It doesn't mean the Titanic's not going down. It just means that I'm going to be a little bit more comfortable. And so our challenge is, how do I get myself clear enough to recognize I'm on a ship that's going down. That's not the problem. The problem is that we're not doing anything about the problem. Okay. And what we have to do is really get back to what you originally were saying. Let's get back to the notion of what is our vision. What is the vision that we have for our society? We've been operating visionless for decades. We've been operating on autopilot for decades. That run is coming to an end. We have all of the makings right in front of us. All of the dissolution of the caterpillar is making the framework for the butterfly. We're about to become better human beings on this planet. But if I'm sitting trying to cling to my caterpillarness, if I'm trying to cling to all of the old ways, if in the midst of all this stuff, I just turn the volume on the television up higher, I don't have to listen to it, then something else will happen to us, and I can pretty much guarantee it's not what you want to happen.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you were going to call me out so personally on our show, but thank you, Shariff. Call me personally. Wait. Call me from a higher level, brother.
I am. First of all of us, every single one of us, is engaged in that first order of business that I was saying, that we have to take care of ourselves enough to be able to calm down enough to ask, what is mine to do? Okay, so number one. Number two, I may be coming to join you soon.
There's work to be done here, bro.
Okay, and I'm laughing, but I'm also not laughing. Okay, because I came to Portland about 30 years ago, and I was the question for me. This is coming from the East Coast. The question I was married at the time. The question was Portland or Seattle, okay? Because this is where things were happening. I was mesmerized by a city that was so vibrant, so upbeat, so alive, so weird, so quirky, etc. This about I had some friends come visit me, and they were staying in a hotel downtown, and they had children, like 9 or 10 years old, and the kids were getting restless. They wanted to go back to the hotel room. My friends wanted to stay out a little later, so I said, send them back to the hotel room, which is like maybe 5 or 6 blocks away from where we were. And it's nighttime. And I looked and I said, it's Portland. Nothing can happen to these kids in a 5-block walk downtown. And my friend said, well, what about street people? I said, well, the street people, if they're lost, go to a street person and say, where's the hotel? And they would guide them, maybe even take them to the hotel. Now, you don't do that nowadays. That Portland doesn't exist anymore. I don't let any of my guests walk outside my place at night without me escorting them. The demonstrations around the George Floyd incident, the George Floyd murder, were happening right outside my window. I mean, in order to see the demonstration, all I had to do was sit up like this, and there it is. Okay. So our society is in turmoil now. So we're seeing all this churning going on. Our question is, what do we do about it?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is we have to elevate our vision past the symptoms of the turmoil into what is the nature of the society we want to live in. We don't have the leadership that will do that. And I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking about the politics of the left won't do that. The politics of the right won't do that. We have to elevate above all of this. And that's where we come in. We are the leaders of the new society, but we're not acting like it yet. Mm. We are the ones who will articulate, envision, invest, and act on a new society, and we're not acting like that yet. I saw in one of the newscasts someone was saying, Biden raised so many millions of dollars in the last month, and Trump only raised so many hundreds of millions of dollars in the last month. How many millions of dollars got invested in the new society, in the vision of a new society? I'm investing my money. I'm investing my money, my life. For those of us who know the Declaration of Independence, we generally know the very famous lines that Thomas Jefferson penned about holding these truths to be self-evident.
Self-evident.
We don't know the last line. And the last line of the Declaration of Independence says, "To this we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." The people who signed the Declaration of Independence knew they were signing their death warrant. They knew that if they lost, they were dead. And they were more than dead. See, kings can do stuff to you, a lot more stuff than just kill you. The king would kill you, have you drawn and quartered. They'd play soccer with your head for a while. They'd boil it in oil and then stick it on a pike in the Watergate, the Tower of London. And then they would take your wife and your children and they would take them past the Watergate and say, "That used to be your father. That used to be your husband. You are not even allowed to call their name anymore. So if your name used to be Jefferson or Adams or Hancock, you can't call yourself that. They take your name away from you." And all of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence knew that. They knew that they were putting their families on the line. They knew that they put all of their money on the line. It's like, we're on the line here. How many of us have faced anything like that? Well, guess what? We get to face it right now. We're not back in the 1770s. This is the 21st century, and we get to face the 21st century's version of that pledge. We get to. I had a friend who's telling me, "Well, I would like to invest in Commonwealth in my nonprofit organization, but you know, I won't get a return on my investment that is going to be equal to the da 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 da. And as he's saying all this, he's basically saying, I get a higher rate of return where my money is right now. Although, and I know that where my money is right now is destroying the earth, but hey, I get more money from it. And my question is, do you need more money? Now I'm talking to a multimillionaire. Do you actually need the money that you're generating right now? Is that why the divine gave it to you in the first place? For you to sit there and hoard. I have a different friend, another friend, and actually I'll call his name Al Jubitz. For those of us who are from the Pacific Northwest, you know about the Jubitz truck stop. You may have never been to it, but you see the signs for it all over the roads. And I was talking with Al one day, and about his generosity for the causes that he believes in, and Commonwealth has been one of them. And he said, "That's why God gave me the money. Gave me the opportunity to be generous and helpful and compassionate to my communities." Okay. And that doesn't mean being foolish and extravagant and stupid, like I'm going to give it all away and I'll be living in a tent next month. But to recognize that societies are born, and they're born with passion, they're born with fire, and they're born when people go all in. And I personally have been all in with the notion of creating a world that works for all. And for those others of us who do that, this isn't something that we just talk about on Sundays. This isn't something that we, kind of write a check and write a big enough check that this guy goes away, and kind of keep going from there. This is really the defining element of our lives. This is where we stand up and show ourselves, our family, our children, what we truly are about. And I'm constantly inviting people to step up into this larger sense of self. And many of us are doing it.
So is one of the key questions we have to ask ourselves, Shariff, is what we're willing to sacrifice in order to make this new society come about?
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather used to say, "Sacrifice to gain."
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much that's part of the equation here, huh?
Right.
Sacrifice to gain.
Right. And we need to understand what sacrifice is. If we're human beings, we have all living beings have a mode of sensing pain and moving away from the pain, and sensing pleasure and moving toward the pleasure. That's basic, standard living operation. As human beings, we can choose to delay our gratification for some larger purpose. We can choose to take on pain for a larger purpose. Someone once said to me that he says, going to your workshops is like going to the dentist. He said, it's always an unpleasant experience. It's always painful, but I always come out of it a better person. So we need to enter the kind of our cosmic dentist shop. We need to start asking ourselves, what is the pain that I'm taking on that's going to make this greater good down the road? That is the definition of sacrifice. that I'm going to do something which may not be pleasant. I'm going to do something which is going to delay my gratification, but I'm doing that for this higher level purpose. I'm going to take that pain and make it sacred. That's the sacrifice. Okay. I'm going to take that pain for a noble purpose. And I'm using words that we don't usually use in society. Things like sacrifice, things like sacred, things like vision, things like purpose. But these are words we need to reintroduce into our vocabulary. These are things that we should be doing as a society, and a society of people. Now, with all of the different groupings of people out there, all of whom want you to be afraid of something. Okay, the right wants you to be afraid of the left, and vice versa. There are whites in our society that want you to be afraid of blacks, and then there are blacks in our society that want you to be afraid of whites, and then there are all different other groups that want you to have different levels of fears, etc. In all of this confusion, where is the central and centralizing principle? Where's the principle that actually holds us together? Now, there are lots of folks that say, well, that principle is the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson said, and this is before he passed away. Thomas Jefferson said, the Constitution should only last 20 years. It should not last longer than 20 years. He said every single generation should rewrite the Constitution. And if we did that, we would be able to incorporate into the Constitution our most current thinking about who we are, how we are, what's the nature of the society that we live in. What am I being asked to do by my society? What am I being asked to do? What is my relationship to the people who live next door to me, because they're my neighbors, the people who live in my watershed, because they're my neighbors, the people who live on my continent, because they're my neighbors, the people who live on this earth, because they're my neighbors. The people who there are people who are calling themselves Christians, and listen to the words of Jesus saying only two commandments: love God and love your neighbor, and ignore both of them. It's like if you don't, it's like you don't want to do the basic operating system. Jesus said, "Love your enemies." Which one of those words don't you understand? It's a 3-word commandment, and as a society, an entire society that calls itself Christian, our highest level of investment is killing our enemies. The reason we have the biggest military on the planet is that we don't believe in loving our enemies. If I actually believed in loving my enemies, I have to interact with the world in a completely different way. Because I've traveled in the world, I like everyone. And there are also people in every single society I've been in who have not been on my Christmas list. Okay, who are people who are not people that I like. And when I find them, I recognize I don't like this person. I don't like this group of people. And so therefore I have to love them. I'm commanded to love them. Now, what does that love mean? Does that mean we're all going to kind of sit down and have dinner together and be buddies? I don't think that that's what the divine is asking of us. In World War II, when Hitler came into France and was occupying France, there were people, French citizens, who were hiding Jews in their barns and in their attics and sneaking food to them in order to prevent them from going into the concentration camps, the death camps. Now, here's the important piece. They didn't like Jews. The people who were risking their lives were people who didn't particularly like Jews. It doesn't matter that you like this person. What matters is that you are commanded to love them.
Mm.
And I will risk my life for your life, even though I don't like you. If we lived on that planet, imagine how different it would look than what we've got right now. Imagine what would happen if the trillions and trillions of dollars every single year we spend on arming ourselves from an enemy that we can't even see anymore. We're trading with everybody. We can't even see this enemy anymore because the enemy is lying right here, right in my heart. Once I start looking here and once I start reconciling myself to my own nature, once I start recognizing that the heart trouble that I may have is heart trouble in terms of how I'm putting my heart out in society, how I am learning how to love, as opposed to learning how to fear and learning how to hate. Once I do that, I can act in the world in a completely different way. I can then be as generous as I can be. I can then be as loving as I can be. And then I can create a generous society. I can create a loving society. And once that happens, things will change in a very, very powerful way.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of folks within our country and local communities right now. A lot of folks are struggling economically. Folks are in food lines. The COVID has really challenged a lot of people. I can make a translation in my own life from what you're talking about to how we can spread our resources out to make everybody's life better. What do we do? Is the work that you're charging us to do in our local environment? Then where is the work to be done? In my own, I have assumptions about it, but I'd love to hear from you. Where is the work? Is it just personal? Is it within a local community? Is it global? Is it all of it?
Yeah. Let's take D. It is all of it. And if you are still dividing the world that way, the personal work is over here and the global work is over there, you're not seeing it clearly enough to put things together. There are lots and lots of people who are struggling right now. I mean, and I see them. I mean, literally outside my own windows right now. But that struggle is not just an economic struggle. That struggle is a struggle, what we call mental illness, which causes me to act in ways that are not in keeping with myself and keeping with others. but a lot of it is what I'm calling societal illness. We are sick from this society. The society makes us sick. So what is the nature of the struggle? So if we recognize that our biggest issue is societal illness, is a spiritual illness, our struggle is in being well. Okay, so if my body is hungry, I need to feed it, and I can put amazingly bad food into my body. I have several friends who are homeless, who live on the streets, and I was talking with one of them about how does he eat, and he sells the Street Roots newspaper, so he gets like maybe $4 or $5 a day, and he says, well, I go to the 7-Eleven and I buy a 7-Eleven burrito and stick it in their microwave, and that's called dinner. Now, he hasn't fed himself, or he's fed himself something that's toxic that will take him further down his line. So our struggle is, how do we get actually healing food inside of people? Then the struggle is, how do I get emotional food inside of people? How do I get mental food? Which is why, if you look around here, you don't see a television. Don't watch it. I love me. I love me enough to put good food in my body, and I love me enough to put good images and thoughts in my head, and I control how I do that. I don't let a television broadcaster do that for me. Oh, I like movies. I'm going through this whole series of 1940s black and white movies. All this stuff is available on YouTube, and I support support that. I support my ability to choose my life, choose my food, choose my companions, choose my spiritual outlook. Okay, so I am seeing on the screen a question that come up, and I want to get the question right here.
Relaxed traveler. What do you say to people who doubt that this higher consciousness will ever be widespread?
Nothing much. That's the short answer. And people who doubt that, it's like, okay, well, tell me the baseball scores. I don't try to convince people who choose not to be convinced that something is happening. That's like trying to talk to someone about the existence of God. God isn't a belief. God is a reality. It's like saying, I don't believe in gravity, so I'm just going to jump out this 20-story window. It's like, good luck with that. I would, let me ask the question a little bit more finessed. Okay. Let me ask it as though Relaxed Traveler is asking it, and asking me, do I think that higher consciousness will ever be widespread? I'm not quite sure how to answer that. I don't think that what we would call a higher consciousness needs to be adopted by every single person on the planet. Most of us live in systems and structures without us even understanding the systems and structures. And so higher consciousness for me is the creation of the system. For everybody else, all they have to do is what the Buddhists call chop wood, carry water. You know, you do your daily life. You live your life. And for the most of the people on the planet, they don't know about capitalism or communism or socialism or whatever. They know my father had this store, my grandfather had the store before him. I got the store, my son's going to have the store, and that's how the world works. Okay. And so what we have to do is be able to create a system and a structure that's based on compassion, not based on how much I'm getting or based on theoretical models that have no impact on my life or anything like that. So let me give you an example of what I just said. I was in Nepal, in Kathmandu, 1 year, and I wanted to get some Himalayan black salt. And if you've never had Himalayan black salt, find some. It's very, very
stuff, huh?
Okay. Right. So you make Himalayan lemonade by making a regular glass of lemonade, put your teaspoon of sugar in it. Then you put about 1/4 of a teaspoon of this black salt in there, and it takes your taste buds and sends them sideways. It's pretty amazing stuff. So I wanted to take some of this stuff back to.
Can we find it in the States, Shariff?
It's now in the States. This was about 10 years or so ago.
Okay.
Or you can come with me to the Himalayas and do what I did, which was I don't go to the tourist areas. Wherever I go, I avoid the tourist areas. So I'm in Kathmandu, and I have a friend who's translating for me. So we go up to a merchant and we say, "You have any black salt?" "No, but the store around the corner, I think, has some." So this guy, the guy in the store, closes his store down, closes his little shop down, locks the door, and so the three of us go around the corner to this other store. So, do you have any black salt? "No, I don't have any, but I think there's some a block down the way." That guy closes his shop up, so now the four of us go down to this other shop. And so the first guy drops out after a while. We pick up after a while. There's this entourage going down the street, maybe 10 or 15 people at any given point in time looking for the black salt. And the entire time I'm being peppered with questions. Who are you? Where are you from? How long are you here? How many people in your family? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I kept like, are they all expecting to get a commission from this or something, But they were acting. And the reason I was so unfamiliar with it, they were acting like human beings. I see something interesting. If the person is interesting, I want to talk with them. I want to hang out with them a little bit. And I'm not so concerned about the money I may miss in the store that's closed up because I'm getting something else from this. Now, contrast that with, and I eventually found the black salt and brought some home. And I need to go through 5 or 6 different airports. I don't know what the stuff looked like under X-ray, but every time I was like, "Stop! What is that?" I had to take it out. I had to act like that. They made me taste it to make sure that it wasn't some substance, etc. So,
can I get a glass of lemonade, please? With my
exactly. I gave some to this guy. I said, "Taste it." They said, "No." So you remember when Blockbuster Video existed? If you went to Blockbuster Video, the person behind the counter would say, "Hello, welcome to Blockbuster." Now, they didn't do that because they wanted to. They did that because there was a corporate mandate that said every customer that comes to Blockbuster will be greeted by this person. Now, they got 10 people at the desk. They got somebody trying to return something. Somebody didn't rewind their tape. Somebody and hello, welcome to Blockbuster. Hello, that's the last thing in the world that I wanted. He was not acting like a human being, or he was acting like a human being that's under order from a corporation to act in a way that was contrary to his own nature, which is what most of our actions are like. And so our challenge is, how do we practice this higher consciousness in everything we do? So we can practice higher consciousness when we come to church on Sunday, or you go to the temple on Saturday, or you go to the masjid on Friday, or whatever your religious group's day is. But our real challenge is, how do we act when we come out? How do we act when we come out of that? Or in this one case, how do we act before we even get there?
Yes.
I was doing a speaking engagement in some city or another. Now it was unfamiliar city, and this is back before Google Maps or anything like that. I had a piece of paper, and I'm driving, trying to read the directions on this piece of paper, and I was driving a little slower than the traffic was moving. And I could see there was a car behind me that wanted to drive faster, but we were in a congested area. And okay, so the road opened up, and this woman came up beside me and zoomed past me. And as she's zooming past me, she gives me the look.
The look. Okay.
And you know the look. The look is, "You jerk! What are you doing? I want to drive." So she zooms on ahead. I don't think anything of it. And I pull into the church parking lot, and I get to the front door, and guess who I see? The official church greeter was the person who gave me the look. And the reason she gave me the look was that I was making her late. And I was making her late to greet me. Now, she had already greeted me once on the road with that look. Okay. And we have to recognize that we're always in relationship with each other, even if I don't see the relationship. Okay. We're always in relationship with each other. And once I can once I recognize that, I can act toward you a different way. Until I recognize that, I'm always going to be hidden from you, and I'm also going to be hidden from me. And that's a challenge, I think, for all of us.
Yeah. Expanded paradigm, expanded awareness, huh?
Yeah.
Big wake-up call. We're at the top of the hour already, Shariff. And as we talked about, an hour goes by, boom.
Indeed,
like that.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's a. Would you join me again at some point? Would you be willing to do that?
I'm going to have to stop measuring time in hours and start measuring in some other framework.
Contribution.
Yes, right. You know, and generally, it's my framework has to do with the capacity of my bladder. I'm sitting here drinking yerba mate, and it's like, how much can I can keep going, but
we might be getting time to go.
Yeah. Right. At some point in time, it's now time to go. Right.
Yeah, that's right. To go. Right on.
Exactly.
Well, I know that one of the things I love about these conversations is that I grow, that I've been taught. And I want to keep my heart open. And I know that for all the folks that are tuning in, that this hour has been substantial, and it has been a contribution, a substantive contribution. And I'm going to reach out to you soon. I'd love to have you back on our program very soon, because the whole dentist thing is interesting. You know, you're championing or living an idea that makes us uncomfortable. You know, that makes folks need to, you need to go in and get your tooth pulled so that you can, get your grill fixed, whatever it is. You need to readjust your heartstrings. And anyway, you've definitely got a new friend in Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert and the folks that are listening here. And so we're committed to championing your work as well. And I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, I appreciate being here. I have a sense of purpose, and I would love to. I would suggest that for people who want to know more, pick up the book. I got other books, but this is the core. And I'm actually gonna. I hadn't planned for this, but for those who buy the book today, actually through the weekend, I'm going to throw in free shipping. Okay, so buy it from commonway.org, my website. You go to the shop and you can buy lots of books. But if you buy Creating a World That Works for All between now and, let's say, Sunday night, I'll throw in free shipping on that. And that should make the deal a little bit sweeter. And I'm thanking you, and I'm also thanking Relaxed Traveler for the kind words. At some point in time, I do look forward to coming back, and we can continue our conversation.
Lovely. Commonway.org. Lori, can we get that up there? COMMONWAY.org, commonway.org. And is that the best way for folks to keep up with the work that you're up to in the world, Shariff?
As much as I keep the website post up to date, yes, that's the best way.
All right. Is there any other portal or any other way that folks can keep up with you on Facebook?
That's our best way. That's your best way. I've got a bunch of videos on YouTube. So if you put my name into YouTube or you put Commonway into YouTube, you should be able to get access to a lot of the videos.
Lovely.
I would strongly urge people to look at my TEDx talk. I try to encapsulate kind of the essence of all that we've been talking about into 18 minutes. TED format does give you, having that limit does cause you to get focused in. Stay tuned, and stay tuned to your own heart. Your heart will tell you the right thing to do if you're paying attention. And that's how all of us grow and expand. So again, blessings, and I look forward to connecting with us sometime in the near future.
Right on. Thank you so much, Shariff. Commonway.org, on YouTube, Shariff Abdullah TEDx. It's a wonderful presentation, beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, Shariff. And we continue here at Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert to appreciate your financial support of our community as well. Through the website, you can contribute. And I know that we're committed to supporting Commonway as well. And Shariff, let's televise the revolution, shall we?
Why not televise it? Exactly.
Why not televise it? Peace and love, everybody. Have a wonderful day. We've got our meditation tomorrow at 10, and then a Sunday service coming out to you on Sunday. Dr. Joe will be with you. And then another great lineup next week. Much peace, much love, everybody. Make it the best day ever. Have a wonderful day.